Good morning, A people. Welcome to another episode of our Learning Lunes. I am Erica Tan from AEV Corporate HR. It's a beautiful Monday morning, and we hope you're ready for another live learning session, this time on daily innovation to make a difference. As we celebrate the second year of our Value of Innovation, let us hear from our speakers practical tips and daily exercises to develop one's innovation skills. Learn some of the best practices on how innovation can make a difference not just in the workplace but also in our communities. For your questions, we have sent the link for the Slido provided in the caption. And then, of course, I won't keep you waiting any longer. I'm very honored to introduce to you our speakers for today, and I'm sure you are familiar with them. Let's welcome Eman Matibay and Jen Pascua of Aboitiz Foundation. Good morning, guys.
Good
Good morning.
morning, Eka.
Morning, A people.
I think they're
Good
very
morning,
ready
fellow
for.
A people.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I think they're very ready for your discussion today on innovation. And let's not keep them waiting. Go ahead, Miss Jen.
All right. Good morning, fellow A people. Happy Monday. I hope you all had a restful weekend. So, as Eka said, we are actually very excited to share with you our topic for today, daily innovation to make a difference. On the next slide, for our topics, first, we're going to talk about unlocking the innovator in you, wherein I will discuss the thought process of innovation, how our brain works to innovate, and some practical tips that we can do in our daily lives to encourage ourselves to innovate. On the latter part, on the second part, my teammate Eman Magtibay would discuss about innovation for impact and would give you examples on how workplaces or communities innovate. So to start off on the next slide, as we go along with our session, I want to encourage everyone to have this thinking in mind. So thinking differently is what can create totally new innovations. So I hope that as we go along with our sessions, we're going to also have thinking exercises. I hope we keep an open and creative mind. So let's begin. Next slide, please. So to give you a bigger picture on how the thought process of innovating works, there are three steps that our brain does when we innovate. So first is divergent, convergent, and lateral. Later on, as we go along, I'm going to explain to you the specific details for each step. So let's start with our first thinking exercise. Next slide, please. Okay, so I hope you guys have the energy to participate in today's activity. So for the first thinking exercise, this is called the paperclip challenge. So I want you to think about the different uses of paper clips aside from holding papers together. In the comment section of the YouTube live, can you please comment down how many you came up with in terms of using the paper clip? So I have to see numbers in the comment section. Let's see who are the creative team members. SIM card tool can be. If you guys can comment down numbers, say for example you came up with 3 uses or 5 uses. Key. All right. It says here key can be hair clip. Let's wait for other team members to answer. 5 uses. Miss Charmaine come up with 5 uses. Roslyn come up with 4 uses. Pretty good numbers. How about the others? 3. Fred came up with 4 uses. So far, our highest number is around 4 or 5. Okay. So to continue, when I first tried this challenge, I actually came up with 4 or 5, same as you guys. But in reality, next slide, please. If we can go to the next slide, Gia. Okay, so in the comment section, we came up with around 4 or 5 uses. But in reality, for adults like us, there are actually 15 to 20 uses that we can come up with. But in actual use, based on the study that was conducted, there are actually 200 uses of paper clips, and the best player for this challenge are kids. The sad reality is that as we grow older, our creativity tends to lessen. The reason why, if you really want out of the box ideas, the best consultant will be kids, specifically kindergarten. If you have kids at home, diba, when you show them a picture or an object, they would imagine it differently other than its literal meaning. So, however, the sad truth is that growing older means lessening the creativity, but of course, there are ways to cope with it. So, on the next slide, to explain further the exercise, what we just did is the step one of the thought process in innovation. That is what we call divergent thinking. So, divergent thinking means the ability to interpret a question in many different ways and ability to use many different answers to a question. The thought process in this stage is also free flowing and in manner and is spontaneous, which result in multiple possible solutions in a short amount of time. I saw in the comment section some said the paper clips can be hair clips. They can actually be SIM card unlocker. They can also be keys, right? So in the divergent thinking, it is when the creative process comes in. You just throw ideas regardless if it's correct or not. On the next slide, so for the divergent thinking, which is the step one, these are the innovation techniques. Actually, these are just few because if you are gonna dive deeper into the divergent techniques, you can actually come up with more than 20. But these are most of the techniques that we use in the workplace or in our daily lives. So number one is brainstorming. Number two is design thinking. Number three is mind or subject mapping. And number four is journaling and free writing. Just a caveat for everyone. In the divergent thinking, it is very important that we keep our minds and our lists open. Meaning, as much as possible, let us allow our team members to just throw ideas without assessing if it's correct or wrong. It is because we don't want to eliminate creative ideas that can actually be the start of innovation. So, the more entries, more chances of winning, sabi nga nila. So thank you for your participation in the first taking exercise. On to the next slide. So on to the next slide is our thinking exercise number two. So again, in the comment section, write the correct answers to this question. So number one, what is the partner of spoon? Number two, how many months are there in a year? And number three, does fish swim? So again, correct answer. Let me go through the comment section. So please write your answers in the comment section. Fork, 12 yes. Okay, Michelle said fork, 12 yes. Okay, how about the others? Number 3 yes. Number 1 fork. Mm-hmm. Number 2 is 12. Fork, 12 yes. All right. Number 2 is 12. Okay, yung iba yata confused pa kung anong partner ng spoon, no? Parang number 2 lang yung mostly may sagot. Okay, fork, 12 and yes. Okay. Thank you for your answers. Actually, the correct answer, of course, number one, the partner of the spoon is fork. There are 12 months in a year, and definitely fish do swim. Okay. So, very good to know. Tama naman ang lahat ng nasa comment section. So, next slide. So, what we just did is convergent thinking. So, opposite from divergent thinking earlier, convergent thinking means pulling the unique ideas together into something that works in the real world. It is also the ability to define a single solution to a problem or an issue, and it strengthens the ability to bring closure and to conclude problems. So kung babalikan natin earlier, we did brainstorming, we did design thinking as innovation techniques. In convergent thinking, what we're doing right now is we start to analyze and filter out yung mga ideas na generate natin earlier. What good thing about convergent thinking is that when there are so many ideas in the table already, it helps you come up with one single solution and a closure to the problem. So into the next slide. So these are innovation techniques under convergent thinking. This is the stage when we start to group common ideas together to come up with a solution. And this is also the time when we prioritize steps for us to solve an issue or a challenge. It is also when we filter what would be applicable in the situation and what would not be. And more importantly, it is in the convergent stage when we do or when we weigh our choices. What's good for our customers? What's good for the business? So it's more on the critical part of the innovation thought process. Okay? So as you can see in the thinking exercise earlier, the number 2, definite na yung naging sagot nyo, di ba? So 1, 2, 3. So it's the same thing or the same principle behind convergent thinking. So next slide, please. Okay. On the third thinking exercise, we will have the rebus puzzle. So rebus puzzle is actually a puzzle wherein we use illustrations and words to depict a meaning. So again, write the correct answer or your guesses in the comment section. Let's wait and let's see who's gonna get the correct answer. Sige, what's your answer on the rebus puzzle? Gia said number 2 is U-turn. Number 1, Brian said number 1 is metaphor. Steve said metaphor, no U-turn, and rising economy. Lori said economic growth is number 3. Jasper said metaphor, no U-turn. MLM said metaphor, no U-turn, growing economy. Roland said, comment to Crystal. All right. So thank you, fellow team members, for your answer. So on next slide, let's show the correct answers. So number 1 is metaphor. Number 2 is U-turn. Actually, no U-turn is also acceptable. And number 3 is the growing economy. You know, personally, I love to solve rebus puzzles, especially on Facebook. Ang daming rebus quizzes there. It really, make you think talaga. Then minsan parang tama yung sagot mo, pero eventually hindi naman pala yun yung correct answer. So, these are the correct answers. So I hope by this time you're starting to observe how your brain works, no? So, the next slide. So what we just did is what we call the lateral thinking in the innovation thought process. So according to Forbes, this is the most valuable skill in difficult times. This is also called as the process wherein someone thinks out of the box And it is the ability to develop original answers to difficult questions. So, on the thinking exercises that we made, we just had a very quick immersion on the innovation thought process. So, on the lateral thinking, the next interesting part would be its technique. So, next slide, please. So for lateral thinking, these are some of the innovation techniques. Let me explain to you one by one. So number one, pick a transitional object. They said that whenever we are faced with a difficult decision making or a challenge, it is important to pick a transitional object. So a transitional object can be a person or a set of qualities that we might want to consider in the decision making. Let's say, for example, you are faced in a difficult situation in your team. One thing that you can do is to ask your fellow team members, what would the person do? Say, what would the community do? What would the customers do? Or what would the management do? something that something that would represent a third person who can input a new idea in your brainstorming or solution making process. Next is jump in the wrong answer. Some of One of the reasons why innovations fail is because innovators tend to always ask the right questions. But in terms of going to the more counterintuitive approach, which is asking the wrong, which is thinking about the wrong answer, it gives us a new idea that things can actually be looked at a different perspective. So again, it's also good that we practice counterintuitive approaches in innovation. Third is don't add subtract. This is another good technique that I also learned. This is also where streamlining comes in. Most of the time, innovators think that if you're gonna add a process or adding on something to a particular process or project or object means innovating it already. But common mistake is that sometimes these additional processes actually hampers the efficiency of the service. So like what Twitter did, if you guys have Twitter, if you can observe, they only have 140 characters. The reason is because Twitter wanted people to write comprehensively and only state um, facts that is irrelevant. 'Di ba compared to Facebook, very limited lang yung mga text in Twitter. The reason why, if you also want quick and reliable information, you'd better search on Twitter and see the trending list rather than going to Facebook. But of course, it actually depends on your social media behavior then. But if you really want, like say, a handy information, go to Twitter. And then lastly, tell a different story. Um, if you're gonna recall all the town halls or super duper content innovation, innovation is actually about attitude and mindset, right? So on the fourth one, it is very important that as innovators and team members, we tell a different story. What do we mean by this? Sometimes when we are faced with a problem, we often think that it is a burden, but it's also good to consider that these are not burdens, but actually a voyage and a return. It means that in a team, we are going in this journey together, and what we want to do is to reach the finish line successfully. So it's also a matter of thinking or our perception towards a problem. So through these four techniques, I hope that we come up with an out of the box solution to our problems. On the next slide, please. So to further understand the creative problem solving process, here is a diagram. So on the left side, of course, we will start with a problem or a case. And then as we go along with the divergent thinking, we always consider quantity over quality. So like what I mentioned earlier, do not eliminate ideas. It is also good that we come up with novel ideas and we create choices. As we move along to the right side, going to the solution process, that's when we practice convergent thinking. That is also when we analyze the ideas that we came up with, and we come up with the best solution to our problem. So I hope that whenever we're in a design thinking or a brainstorming process, we always keep in mind this creative problem solving process. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is more of a personal or practical side of supercharging our brain. Um, when I learned that innovation is the value of the year, I got a bit excited at the same time pressured because of course we want to deliver this year something that's innovative. And so I thought of sharing with you practical tips on how we can encourage ourselves to supercharge our brain and come up with out of the box ideas. So number one, manage the first hour of your day and find your flow. So in the comment section, could you share with us what is the first thing that you do when you open your eyes in the morning? What is the first thing that you do when you open your eyes in the morning? Let's wait for our team members to answer. So for me, what do I usually do the moment I open my eyes? Well, you might call it cliche, but literally I pray for a good day. Stretch, check my phone, check the time, check the schedule. Nice. How about the others? Recite a prayer, same tayo, Ryle. Eka, I close it again for another 5 minutes. Whose button ba, X? Pray. Turn TV on. Kiss my rosary, sabi ni Sir Raymond. Okay, thank you for your answers. So, managing the first hour of your day actually means doing non-work related stuff. What do we mean by this? It is important that we start our day with ourselves. So say for example, our office hour is 'di ba 8:30 a.m. So it requires a little effort to wake up early around 7 or 6 a.m. and just put the day at the center of yourself. It means that either you make your breakfast, you pray, you walk the dog, you meditate, you do journaling. It is because supercharging our brain means finding our flow as well. So if you guys are into reading and if you came across the book Ikigai, flow means the momentum wherein a person is so involved into something that nothing else matters around him or her. So when we want to come up with innovative ideas, we should start with ourselves. We should make sure that our brains are ready, our minds are ready, and it starts with self-care. So again, it is important that when you wake up in the morning, don't do work-related stuff yet, but rather embrace yourself and do something that would make you feel good. That's the way that we can clear our brains and come up with creative ideas. Number two, this one is very interesting. Brush your teeth using your opposite hand. So, brushing your teeth using your opposite hand isn't only because of hygiene, but it's actually because of creating habits, no? As you know, if you're gonna dive deeper into neuroscience, our brains are wired into a particular routine. Meaning, if you are right-handed, di ba, all throughout your life, you'll be writing using your right hand. If you are right-handed, you'll be brushing your teeth using your right hand. It means your brain is already wired to doing things with your right hand. But if you try using your left hand for, say, brushing your teeth, your brain creates a new wire inside it, where it stimulates it to come up with more neurons, or to it allows your neurons to move freely, creating a new process or a new wiring in your brain. So actually, the second tip, I tried it. The reason why I came up or we came up with the topic for today's session, which is innovating for innovate daily innovation in making a difference. So I was trying to create or to think differently. So I tried the routine of brushing my teeth using my left hand. according also to my friends in the startup industry, it is also effective. They can attest that, creating a habit using the opposite direction or manner is effective for them. So, maybe you can try it later tonight if it works for you. The third one is remember your dreams. This is also one amazing thing that I realized that, remembering your dreams actually spark innovation. If you're gonna look at the science history, most of the scientific breakthroughs happened in dreams. Einstein actually discovered theory of relativity when he was sleeping. Dimitri actually discovered periodic table when he was sleeping. The science behind it is that when we are sleeping, our subconscious mind actually solves problem brought by our conscious mind when we are awake. It is also important to remember our dreams because it can help us to develop creatively and socially. However, just a caveat on this, remembering your dreams can also have emotional implications depending on the situation, no? Sometimes remembering your dream, especially if it's a bad dream, gives trauma to the person. So this is a case-to-case basis depending also on your dream on this or on the situation. But science says that remembering your dreams can actually come up with creative ideas. So next slide, please. So down to the last three tips, practical tips, is number four, take a cold shower. No, there is such a thing called cold therapy. No, it's the same thing as, say, for example, a part of our body is swelling, you put cold compress on it. No, it's the same as our brain. Taking a shower resets our nervous system. The reason why when we take a cold shower, di ba, parang alive na alive tayo, or it gives us this clarity of mind. So it's not just about it's not it's a superstitious belief, but it's actually science. Cold shower resets our nervous system. And also a tip, if you want to have a restful sleep, I mean, take a hot shower because that one naman relaxes our nervous system. So it calms us down. So personally, I practice taking cold shower in the morning and taking hot shower in the evening. The fifth one is also one of the things that I hope you guys would consider is write a feel list and a be list. Again, innovation is all about mindset and attitude, no? Even if we try to study, even if we try to search online about innovations, there should be an innate attitude among us that, would really inspire us to innovate. So most of the time, since we're working, we always do the to-do list, no? Forgetting, again, self-care. So I'm encouraging everyone to write a feel list and a be list. Say, for example, for the feel list, today I feel grateful. Today I feel worried because I have deadlines at work. But of course, when you do a feel list that is more negative, you have to be proactive about it and process it in a way that you would find solution to it. And a B list is like today I want to be a team member who helps my team. I want to be a team member who is responsive to my partners. Something to that effect. So again, innovation also has a component of self. So it's not just about processes, it's not just about science. And lastly, um, eat healthy and hydrate. Again, innovation is a process of the brain. And if our brain is not healthy, if our body is not healthy, it would be difficult for us um, to program ourselves for innovation. And on the next slide, as I end my part in this session, so these tips are actually from Quick Brain. If you guys are very active on listening to Spotify, this is a good podcast. It's about reaching your brain's limitless potential. No, it's Quick Brain by Jim Quick. So he said that your brain is a supercomputer. Your self-talk is the program it will run. Again, a reminder to everyone that if we really want to innovate, it should start with self. It should start with encouraging or equipping ourselves for innovation as well. So that's for my part, and I'll be back later for the second part. Thank you for participating, and let me hand you over to Eman for the second part.
Okay, thank you,
Eman,
Jen.
take it away.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you. So again, Welcome to our topic, Daily Innovation to Make a Difference. So for my part, on the next slide, is innovation for impact. So, okay, please click next. So we know that innovation peers across different areas, not confined only on technology. It goes beyond that. No, it goes in different fields, and it's actually an attitude. Earlier, Jen discussed how to unlock the innovator in ourselves that you can bring in the workplace. And every day, so click next. Okay. Okay. Every day we try to live with our company values, which is innovation. It is evident in us, A people, that we practice innovation. So we can actually see that on a recent innovation, which is MyBen. It's I really appreciate that, and that you can buy and sell. So it's a really great initiative from the HR. And now that we know how to be an innovator for ourselves and in our workplaces, we will discuss how to innovate beyond ourselves and our workplace as we innovate for our community. That is why this part is titled Innovation for Impact. Next slide, please. Okay. So actually, there's a reason why Jen and I teamed up for this learning Luna session. So it is because we are both part of YCCLEE, or Young Southeast Asian Leaders Initiative, a youth organization that helps young individuals across Southeast Asia to solve community problems that falls under different categories of civic engagement, environment, economic development, and entrepreneurship. And as a part of our um, membership, we can actually join the YCCLEE Fellowship. It's an exchange program where you will be sent to US to further develop your professional and your leadership skills. So you have the academic fellowship, which is open for 18 to 24, and professional fellowship for 25 to 35. Some of the notable alumni of the program are I think kilala nyo naman to, si Vico Soto, si Gretchen Ho, Cherry Atelano, and Mayor Beng Climaco. So, next slide, please. So, why am I saying this? No, what's the relevance of YCCLEE? So, actually, Jen and I, before we got into the fellowship, a change project is a requirement to get into the program. And as you know, change project is a social responsibility project, just like our CSR projects, that that is innovative and addresses particular problem in community. And innovation played a large role in dealing and implementing the change project. This time, I will show you the different change projects in YCCLEE, how did the YCCLEE youth innovated for their respective communities, and how it created positive impacts. Okay, for our first innovation, slide please. We have ReClothing. So ReClothing is a Philippine sustainable fashion brand that offers affordable clothing and apparel with handmade touch. So actually, what they're doing is they're upcycling secondhand clothes. So after they acquire secondhand clothes, they will put a handmade embroidery, which is adding value to the um, to the clothes that is disregarded na parang considered na as a waste. So that's how they innovate and promote environmental awareness, because apparently textile clothing such as clothes are top contributor in the pollution ocean and in other places. So that's how reclothing helped in that particular problem. The next one is the bamboo company. So the bamboo company offers better alternatives to everyday products by using bamboo as a sustainable material. So I think some of you actually acquired some of their products na no sa the bamboo company. So it is more of influencing individuals to do the eco-friendly switch. So they're promoting the zero waste lifestyle and to promoting to use alternative products such as bamboo. So right now, I think they are moving into adopting a community wherein that community is the one creating the bamboo products, and they're helping that community to earn more income as the business grows. So on that part, they are contributing in the economic development of a particular sector. So on the next slide, so this is the project that I founded. I called it GiveASheet because it's some of you might laugh with the name, no? It's a social enterprise that sells upcycled notebook from scrap bond papers. So we're actually sourcing papers from universities or from offices with papers na wala namang privacy issues or copyright, and then we're printing lines into it and compile it into a notebook. That's why it's called GiveASheet. No? So the notebooks were handcrafted by stay-at-home mothers in our adopted community, and the profit of it is given to them as the salary and help as a help for their children in education. So please click next po. Okay. Isa pa po. Yan. So on this advocacy, we're aiming for three things: education, empowerment, and environment. So that's how GiveASheet actually helps in the community. Also pala, if you can see the notebook na may nakalagay na warrior, that's how we print advocacy-based notebooks. No? So this one is example of mental health notebook. So it's a warrior with the yung I pinalitan ng semicolon because that's symbol for mental health daw. Okay, so next slide. So we have Accessory Wheels. So some of you might know Miggy Bautista. So it's actually a PWD that's featured in the BGC commercial that features how PWD friendly BGC is. And Accessory Wheels is a social enterprise which enables people with mobility problems to go where they need to be. They connect customer to trained drivers. So it's actually a Grab application for PWD. No, because apparently some of the PWD are having problem in using taxis and Grab, so they created Accessory Wheels. So during the pandemic, we know na talagang nag-lockdown, public transportation is cut in different areas, and it's really hard for people with disability to go to hospital if they need to. So what they did, they innovated during the pandemic. So ang ginawa nila is nagawa sila ng Facebook group wherein they source different volunteer drivers. They give them gas allowance, and the PWD or people with mobility issues can actually book a ride on that group wherein they can help, just like for this example, si dialysis patient, nakapunta siya sa hospital without going to extreme measures because merong mga volunteer drivers that help them to navigate and to transport. So very innovative siya in terms of during the pandemic. So the next one is the project founded by Jen. Hi, Jen. So it's the Second Chances project, which is actually provide entrepreneurial and employment opportunity for ex-persons deprived of liberty. And during pandemic, they helped the limit spread of COVID-19 in jail. The Second Chances projects led a donation drive of 300 care pack with protective masks, hygiene kits, and vitamins in prisoners in the New Bilibid prison. So makikita natin here that each project has different target and they help in a different ways. It could be a product, it could be a service, and it helps people in a lot of sectors, especially in marginalized. No, so this is how the YCCLEE youth help in innovating for our communities. So how can you help as a team member in Aboitiz? So next slide, please. You can help with this innovation in the community first by sharing it or spreading the word. So they all have this Facebook account, Instagram account. You can share it by in your stories or in your wall, and it actually helps a lot in building awareness that this kind of program exists. It actually helps them as well in knowing that other organization might help them in the future. So, and the second, you can actually donate in cash or in kind. So some of the social enterprise or this kind of projects, pinopost nila what are the things that they need on the project. Just like in ReClothing, they need secondhand clothes or dead stock fabric na ginagamit nila in creating new clothes. And of course, if in cash, you can actually donate as well in kinder, di ba? So there are different projects as well that's being led by youth that is actually a great innovation for different communities as well. Then, of course, if the social innovation is a social enterprise, you can patronize their products, no? Be their customer. So you can buy if you want to have an eco-friendly tumbler or eco-friendly clothes, you can patronize their product. And the last thing is you can volunteer. you can offer your expertise, your knowledge, and your network. So some of you, especially us A people, we are from different backgrounds and we are professionals in different fields. We can actually offer something sometimes, no? Especially pagka nakita mo that there's a project that is really close to your heart, you can actually offer your help. As well as if you know someone who can help them, you can share your network with them. And on the next slide, we want to take your participation on this project to the next level. And this is, we can do this by innovating your own project. You will go beyond yourself, you will go beyond your workplace, you will innovate for communities on your own. And this is how we can do it. No? First is we advocate. You need to identify the purpose and know your why. No? So what is your advocacy? Now, that will be the focus of your change project. The next one is to investigate, dig deeper into the problem. So sometimes there are problems in a particular issue na medyo parang akala mo ito lang. Pero if you dig deeper, mas marami pa pala siyang mas marami ka pa madidiscover that can actually help you in creating a more efficient and more effective solution. And the last one is, of course, to innovate. Create the solution and you can actually start it and iterate it. No? So we will dig deeper in each part of it. So for the first part, which is advocacy. Okay, next slide, please. So advocate. In the advocate part, of course, you need to choose an advocacy. Start on something that you are passionate about. No, so some of us, just like me, passionate ako sa graphic design and in environment. So I founded GiveASheet because it actually helps the environment, and at the same time, I can put designs na gusto ko on the notebook. So that's where I put my hugot onto the project. Another example is yung kay Miggy. He is a person with disability as well. That's why he founded the Accessory Wheels. So always start with something that you're passionate about, or you can start with something that you have pain or hugot. So you can see naman dito sa slide na yung pain na word is capitalized, no? Because there's always pain in passion daw. The next one is to be aware of the problem. What is the problem you want to address? And how are you part of the problem and the solution? So not just the solution part, ha? Kasi you could be a part of the problem as well, of the problem you want to address, di ba? So next one is to think of a change idea. So this change idea is your hypothetical solution for that problem without verifying facts first or doing analysis. So you can have a top-of-mind solution para somehow you will be guided. So the guide question here is, what is the solution you want to pursue for this particular problem, and how can this solve the problem directly or indirectly? So you can take note of those questions because it can help you guide in formulating your advocacy and framing your problem. So on the next part, which is investigate. So this is the more tricky and more intensive na. Because on this part, you identify the cause of the problem. Di ba kanina we identified the problem. So titingnan natin ngayon yung cause of the problem. And there are tools that we can use in digging deeper into the problem, which is the root cause analysis. That is the 5 whys. They call it 5 whys, wherein you'll ask 5 whys in why a particular problem is happening. Then after the cause has been revealed, itatanong mo ulit why this problem is happening again. So until na makarating ka ng 5th why mo, malalaman mo na that it could be the root cause, no? And then you can do systems thinking as well. So systems thinking is used for pagka there are situations wherein the cause of the problem is an effect of the another problem as well. So it's just like if I explained it correctly, it's a causal loop, no? So para lang yung for example, bakit hindi nakapag-aral? It's because mahirap. So bakit mahirap? Kasi hindi nakapag-aral. So on that problem, meron kang cycle of cause and effect, no? So on that part, you will be using systems thinking to give you a big picture of how the problem is moving. Then next one is to list your assumption on the problem. list the information that you need to verify. So there are a lot of uncertainties on the change idea that you created earlier, and as well as you have uncertainties on the problem that you chose. So now you need to list those assumptions. Then after that, you need to validate your assumptions by doing the rapid area assessment, or you will be going into the community to do your survey, interview, group discussion, and immersion. So you need to verify the unverified so that you will have more informed decision. So after that, let's say that you already done with the advocacy, you already did your investigation, you can now proceed in the innovation part. So on the next slide, you can see the innovation cycle. So in this innovation cycle, it's somehow an agile approach on how you can create your solution. So we already did the discover and define the problem on the advocate and investigate part. So this time you will start with to design the solution that you think will fit on your assessment, no? So after that, nakapag-design ka na ng solution, let's say for example, a particular community wala silang bathroom, so nakita mo na yung problem, so alam mo na yung possible na solution mo, no? After getting all the facts, you need to start prototyping na. So you need to start small before you go big. Then if you think that your solution's actually working, you can actually start scaling up and commercializing it. So if your solution is a policy, it must be institutionalized. Then if it's a business, it must be scaled up. Then if it's a project, it must be adopted by the community. Then after your validation, if you find your project na hindi siya nagwo-work, or you think there are still parts na kailangan mong i-polish, you can redesign. So it's like a cycle. Babalik ka doon sa design part, then prototype, then validate ulit, and then the cycle goes on and on. Pero if you think that your solution is not really working because you don't have a complete grasp of the problem, I think it's time to end it. And then you can start in the defining the problem as well. So this is the innovation cycle that you can use. You can use it as well in the workplace to innovate. No? So for my last slide, I want to share to you a quote from Benjamin Disraeli. Sorry. The greatest good you can do for another is not just to share your riches, but to reveal to him his own. So in social innovation, this is how we're doing it. No? So again, thank you. Hopefully you learned something. And I hope that if you're looking for a sign to start your change project, hopefully you consider that this is the sign. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Eman. So I think we'll go on to the question and answer portion. So number one, how do you deal with teammates that are resistant to change? Example, innovating or updating the process to make it simpler. All right. So Eman, do you want to start
Okay.
addressing
So,
that question?
sige. So for that, I think we can start by putting our teammates on the same page. Kailangan natin malaman kung why do we need to innovate. So it will always start in presenting again the problem and why innovation is necessary. So I think if your teammate knows that that the problem is a valid problem and innovation is necessary, I think you can encourage them to join you in the innovation. How about you, Jen?
To me, I'll go back to your slide on investigating. I think it is very important that we go back to, or we start with a root cause analysis, right? They have to understand why the current process won't work and why there is a need for us to innovate or develop a new process. Also, it's a good thing to give different angles or perspectives. Say, for example, what will happen to the communities that we serve or to our customers if we are going to retain the same old process? What will happen also to you professionally if there is a resistance to innovation or change? But then again, we're going to go back to the reality that innovation is really about attitude and mindset.
That's
Okay,
great.
I hope that addresses the question. Do we have another one?
Okay, so for another question is, how do you influence others to innovate little by little or be more conscious on the value of innovation? So Jen, do you have something to share?
Okay. So on a personal perspective, I think we have to encourage, or a way we can encourage our fellow team members to innovate is when we emphasize to them that, hey, the status quo won't work anymore, especially now that we are in the new normal. As CSR, as a CSR sector and also as a business, it is important that we understand also the bigger picture, the current situation. Because I believe that it is only through that we also have this realization na, and hopefully realization na, ay, oo nga, if we're gonna maintain this old process, it won't work, we won't thrive, 'di ba? And sabi nga nila, yung mga people who reject change or innovation are mostly the people who cannot adapt. I think that's on my part, Eman. How about you?
So I think this is where design thinking sessions can actually help, no? So we've attended naman ng mga design thinking sessions, and on that we innovate on simulation lang, no? Nag-i-innovate tayo pero hindi siya yung on a real world, no? But we're discussing real problem. And on that I think they will find out yung value of innovation in innovating on in a simulated world. And at the same time, if innovation is being appreciated, that this is a great innovation, and I think it will save us a lot of time and energy or resources. I think that's the time that they will appreciate the value of innovation, and they will be more conscious, and little by little it will be an attitude of them. Okay.
Also, Eman, to add also, sometimes kasi there is a fear in people na when they innovate, there's this tendency for them to, disregard their role. I think it is also important that we make the person realize or the group realize that they have a part in that innovation. So when we go from the status quo process to the new process, they will still be relevant. However, this time medyo level up naman, 'di ba?
Yes.
Importante pa din yung belongingness ng person and organization. Third question, question number three, how do you manage colleagues that have solely desktop jobs to innovate, and how would you suggest we can measure the impact of each innovation? So, Eman, do you want to start?
I think that the answer to this question is the same one with the one on the first question. No? So I think you need to start showing them what's the real problem, the true situation of the problem, and then how would you suggest you can measure the impact of each innovation? So you will start with KPI as well. So meron ka laging mga target. So that's one way to measure it. Then after the end of implementation, dun mo siya tingnan kung magtutugma ba yung target mo dun sa nag-achieve result. So I think that's how you measure the impact of your innovation. How about you, Jen?
Also, yeah, to answer this one, I want to pull out again the tip earlier in lateral thinking. Now we said don't add but subtract, no. Sometimes kasi innovation doesn't have to be grand, no. I think one good example is streamlining of the processes. When we streamline, it's already part of innovation. We subtract such processes in order for us to serve our customers better, right? So,
Yes.
so I think it's really a matter of looking into things. Again, it's not about adding, but sometimes it's about simplifying things and workloads. Say, for example, yun, that's on my part. Do we have other questions?
Hi. So actually, that's our last question for today.
I think that's
So
all.
I
Eka?
really like this session. It's very informative, very interesting. So actually, that's all we have for today. Thank you so much for this session, Jen and Eman. It's actually very concise and straight to the point. And what I think the most interesting for me are the practical tips. Because it it doesn't focus on innovation, solely on innovation, but you have to start on a personal level for you to get there to talagang have results on innovation. So I really like that. And then, of course, for our A people, for sure, this will be a very handy session, lalo na we're celebrating the second year of innovation. So we do hope that this session encourages you to be more innovative little by little every day because, those little innovations sometimes really have a big impact to our everyday lives and our work. Ayan. So thank you so much, Jen and Eman, and for answering our questions. Once again, thank you to everyone who tuned in to our A People. Very engaging comment section. So let's be more engaged next time. We'll see you on our next Learning Lunes. Jen, Eman, thank you, and have a great week, everyone.
Have a great
Bye.
week. Thank you.
Thank you,